Jeff and Jeremy. It's like a radiogasm.
I said, hey, babe, check it out on the podcast.
Apple Podcast, Google Podcast,
and Spotify.
All this is going viral.
Yes, good morning. Hope you had a nice little weekend. It's Jeff and Jeremy here back with you. And, gosh, no playlist. We got through them all, man. I can't believe we finally did it. But thanks to everybody who submitted those playlists last week. We are still giving away some Pat Benatar and Neil Giraldo tickets coming up after 8 o'clock this morning. They'll be at Vina Robles on September the 9th. How you doing, Jeff?
I'm doing good. Yourself?
I'm doing fantastic.
Good. Glad to hear it.
We were just sitting here looking at the Facebook feed and saw some story from Friday. And I don't know where this ended up going, but we follow this Sloco News. It's SLO News. Jason Brock does a pretty nice job of keeping up with what's going on. And he had posted a picture that somebody had surveillance of somebody siphoning gas out of a truck. This happened around Paso Robles Street. And they're looking for this guy. And I don't know if they're going to get him or not, but... somebody wrote in here and says, well, this wouldn't be such a big issue if gas prices weren't shooting up.
Yeah. Is this something that we might have to start looking out for? I mean, as gas prices do continue to go up. I mean,
what sucks?
Continue to go up.
My truck.
Oh, don't even.
It doesn't even have a lock on the gas because who would think to do that now? Now you can just open mine up. It doesn't even have a gas cap. It's just one of those new ones where it shuts,
yeah.
So you can just shove a tube down there.
Can you shove a tube down there though?
Hopefully you can't. I don't know. I've never asked the guys at GM.
But I think it's the same thing my wife has on her car. It's just a little cap thing, and it just opens up. I mean,
you just push the hose in and it opens, and then
yeah.
it automatically closes, seals back up when you close it. But I don't have a lock on that gas cap, so people could just come up and steal. Now, luckily, I'm in a good situation at home, but here at work, who knows with all these hooligans running around.
Is this something we're going to have to worry about? People siphoning gas from cars. I mean, is this going to be the new thing? Where I remember this was a thing in like the 80s, and I remember my grandfather being really worried about it. And at the time, that seemed ridiculous, but looking back on it, it even seems more ridiculous now because gas prices in the 80s were like $1.75. Now I know adjusted for inflation and all that stuff, maybe $1.75 is worth $4.19 or whatever the cheapest gas that you could find right now is. But I remember stories of guys being caught off guard, like sneaking up on somebody who's siphoning gas from your car, and then you go around the car and you scare them, and then they swallow the gas, and then they got to go to the hospital.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah, I mean, the siphoning. I would not know how to siphon anything. Like if somebody said siphon this with your mouth, I would not know how to do it. Now the trick is what? You put the hose down lower, suck on it for a second, and then put the hose down, and then the vacuum will pull it out. Is that the trick?
Yeah, they make actually. You can go to any parts store for $20 or something like that, maybe less now, and you can buy a battery operated siphon unit.
So you don't have to use your mouth anymore.
Yeah, because my buddies have one to pull gas out of their gas cans, or to pull old gas out of their boats that have been sitting. Because gas will go bad after a while if you don't stabilize it. So I've seen these things and they work pretty good, but yeah, that's how easy it is. And it can be done in seconds now. I mean, there was at least an art to it before they made these, battery powered pumps that sit on these hoses. Yeah. And people are going to start stealing. What are you going to do? Where do you put the gas? I guess you put it in a gas can, or you put it into another car. You just pull your car up to somebody's car.
That won't work because of the
It's got to be unless
it's got to be lower than the actual gas tank, than the lowest part.
So don't park on a hill
of the gas tank.
Or don't park where somebody can pull in next to you lower than you. Otherwise, they'll put it right in their tank. That's how I'd do it.
That's weird because I do park on a hill.
Are we ever going to get to the point where if we hoard gas, we can sell it to people for a lot later.
Remember, people were doing that like in Nevada and stuff like that. Like they had their own gas stations, but they were like
underground
bootleg gas
gas
stations. Yeah, they would have like these big tanks in their backyard, and people would pull up in like an alleyway in Vegas, and you know, a guy would pass a thing over the fence, and he'd sell them gas. Is that where we're heading? Is that the America that we're living in now, where we're going to be buying bootleg gas? Oh man!
Here you go.
We're just getting closer and closer to Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome.
I saw this. It was probably a week or so ago. Gas prices. The average gallon of gas last year at this time, $1.95 a gallon. The average gas price in America now is $3.05. It's gone up. It's gone up over $1 a gallon.
But the thing for us in California that stinks about that is when it was like what you said, $1.95 was the national average.
A gallon of gas was
so it was closer for us. It was probably like, you know,
$2.95.
I remember it being like two.
Well, what is it now?
$2.50 range.
What is it now? I went to Costco. It's $3.95 for just regular and
And
leaded.
that's cheap. That's cheap.
Yeah, because it's closer to $5 now, isn't it?
Yeah, I paid
$4.85,
$4.09 for it in Atascadero the other day.
$4.09's pretty good.
That was on the you know, cheaper end. I mean, that was I think
That's a pretty good deal,
cheapest
yeah.
gas Atascadero had for that day.
Yeah, so if we're paying, it was $2.95 probably last year at this time, and it's probably, you know, closer to, you know, $4.85 now a gallon.
When you know of
Average
a
on the
cheap gas station, do you tell people about it, or do you choose not to tell people about it?
I don't even pay attention because I go to Costco. And I know you think it's crazy, but Costco
Well, it's
is
a
really
long
cheap.
line. Sometimes I'll pull
Sometimes
up. And I'm
not.
like, no, thank you.
It gives me an opportunity to look at my emails as I sit there in the car.
Sure.
And usually I'm there 15 minutes in line, and then I get my gas, and I hit the car wash and head home.
That's a long time.
It works out good for me. Maybe grab a slice of Mama Leah's pizza because it's on the way because I hit
That's
this
true.
Costco and slow.
That's true. But
I wonder if the gas in Costco in Santa Maria is any cheaper.
I think it is average.
Well,
On average, it is.
because I'm in the middle
Well,
in AG, I can go either one.
You know, the average of Santa Barbara County's gas is less than the average of San Luis Obispo County's gas.
You know, you tell me why that is.
I think it's because Santa Maria prices are much lower than Santa Barbara prices, and it brings it down.
Okay. Let's see here.
Why do you bother muting your mic when you're asking Siri a question? Because then Siri just opens her loud mouth.
She did. What are you talking about? Nobody even knows that I did
You
that.
stopped the search.
I
didn't
stopped
you?
it. Yeah, I shut it down. That's the-
Find it out. Do it. Where's the cheapest gas?
Where's the cheapest gas?
Here's what I found.
Okay.
Can't just say it, huh?
Let's see here.
Costco doesn't count because you have to pay $120 a year.
Isn't there a gas
to have the
website?
Gas Buddy.
Open up gasbuddy.com.
Gas Buddy.
Here's what I found.
All right. I got to push it. All right. There we go.
Now, those iPhones are convenient, aren't they?
Yeah, they really are. Oh, it's an app to download. This is not going to work.
Yeah, Gas Buddy website, not as good as the app.
Google works pretty good, too. Watch this. Google gas prices in my area.
I found this on the web.
Oh, gosh. Seriously, Apple?
She's still trying to
If
get
you would
me
have said
to buy
Safari,
an app.
should you give you some real answers?
Okay, forget it. Just go to gasbuddy.com. You can figure it out.
Whoa! Jeff and Jeremy in the morning.
So, have you noticed how much UFO talk there's been lately? It's almost odd. And I think you said it last week, and I don't know
it's
if
so
we
funny.
were on the air when we were having the conversation or not, but you're like, pretty convenient distraction, don't you think, to what's really going on in the world? The government is now talking about UFOs all the time. And they're releasing stories. And the U.S. intelligence report on a UFO sighting that apparently recently happened, the Pentagon is expected to present its findings to Congress coming up on the 25th of this month. The reports say that the intelligent officials have not definitely determined what the unexplained aerial phenomena, as they're calling it, is. All they know is that they are not alien and they are not American.
Yeah, I mean, when you
How do they know it's not alien?
Well, it doesn't matter. I don't care either way because I'm not really buying any of it. When you have scientists that are playing mad scientists and engineering diseases to see if, quote unquote, to see if they can stop the diseases, but then they realize, wow, we can't stop these diseases. and then it leaks and then kills millions and millions of people, then it's always nice for governments of the world.
You're talking about old Tony Fauci's emails.
I'm talking about it's always nice of the governments of the world to turn their eyes to the sky and look for those UFOs, because that's the important thing.
Some people right now are like, yeah, Jeff, speak the truth, speak the God's truth, or whatever the hell they say that. And other people are like, oh, you wacko, you conspiracy theorist. Yeah, you Trumpster. But there was facts, right?
It's convenient.
They came out in the beginning,
label people,
and they said, "Hey, this came from a market, this came from an animal." But then everything we heard late last week into the weekend was, no, actually, they're really thinking this came from a lab, and it makes a lot of sense since they were working on this strain of coronavirus, and people in the lab got it.
But let's not pay attention to that, because you know what? We've got UFOs.
But yes, we have UFOs. So. Our government's been telling us one thing about this pandemic, and I feel like...
no, this is what they've been doing all along, Jeremy.
Why don't they just come out and say, yeah, you know what? We were wrong. This was a big screw-up. It was the Chinese government, whatever, and we should have, come out and said we got this wrong before. But now we don't...
They've been using the UFO, the sightings of the UFO, whatever footage they have of UFOs, as their ace in the hole. When they got called to the carpet for some real world BS in which actually killed some people and their involvement in it, sleight of hand.
See, here's the thing. This ties into the UFO thing, because what the Pentagon is saying that they're concerned about is that this is either China or Russia, high intelligence type stuff, causing more fear to the people, right? They're trying, to cause more national security for the United States of America. They're leaning towards either China or Russia has these things that we don't understand, and that should scare us. Which I feel like that's all the government wants to do nowadays. Because if they say that it came from a market, and we're talking about the coronavirus now, and it came from some animal we don't know, and we're so confused, and how are we going to... Okay, that's scary. But if we say it came from a lab that we created, well, then we don't do that. And then we don't have to be scared about the next pandemic or the next virus, because it didn't just randomly come from some bat.
There's lots of money in mad scientists. Scientry. I don't
and
even
I'm
know
not
if
talking
scientry
about
is a term that I could use, but I'm using it now.
And I'm not talking about where I don't know for sure where it came from. I'm just saying the ideology, the thought process behind it. If we say it came from this, then it causes people to be unaware of how it came to be, and it causes fear. If we say it came from here and it was our mistake, yeah, that makes us look bad. But at least that makes everybody's mind, at least mine, have some pause and have some ease and go, oh, okay, well, they created, well, just don't do that again. I don't know, maybe that should scare me even more. I don't know.
Yeah, but
same with the UFOs.
They get a lot of money for doing that, though.
They're saying these unidentified flying objects are possibly from China or Russia, not from an alien life form. I don't know, what would scare you more if we found out that China and Russia had this kind of technology?
We're getting us in
I would be like, wow, we're a little bit behind here.
Viruses and spaceships. I mean,
I don't know.
They can hit us from all angles on this one. That's not enough to scare the crap out of you. I don't know. I
just think it's really interesting. All the UFO talk from the government. I mean, this is like, it's for the last 3 months. This is, it's been in the news almost every day. Something about a UFO, some sort of video the government has released. And I think you're right. I think it's, hey, let's distract everybody with this instead of what's really going on.
Really happening, because
we don't want the finger pointed at us.
Mm-hmm.
We're just talking about government in general, man.
I mean, well, they do have I guess a litmus test on what would happen to the science industry. I think I mentioned to you that Pfizer's stock was evaluated at their earnings was evaluating at given the fact that they knew that they had one of the coronavirus vaccines that was going to be widely distributed. $15 billion going into the year, knowing that they had that. Then their projections come after the first quarter, March, ends up being 26 billion. It went up $9 billion. It went up almost double of what it was before. At least it went up 66% of what it was before after the first quarter.
Anyway.
Now they're going to stop doing that. There's big money tied into science. Okay, science.
Oh,
it's
sure.
Science. And if it gets out that science is being reckless, the same way that the nuclear scientists were being reckless with Chernobyl and 3 Mile Island. then that funding will get cut. Look what's happened to nuclear. Nuclear's gone away completely because they were getting reckless with it. They don't want virology to be pinned with the blame of killing 3 million people worldwide, because if they do, they lose all funding. So there's a big cover-up here.
You're talking about one thing, I'm talking about the other, but
No,
I think
I'm
they're
saying
very similar.
UFOs could be part of that cover-up as well.
Here's my thought, is I don't think they know what this is, and that's why they don't normally talk about it. But right now, I believe that they're like, yeah, we need some distraction. I don't know, we'll have to wait and see. Love to know your thoughts on it. I don't know if any of this strikes a chord with you, if it makes sense, or you think we're crazy. 805-543-3693. Send in your text. Send in your comments.
And if ignorance
We'll
is
read 'em.
bliss, I understand, because I don't want to think about this stuff either.
Wake up. Jeff and Jeremy in the morning.
We were just talking about UFOs, government conspiracies, and all this kind of stuff. And I mean, we're not like big into that kind of stuff, but it is interesting.
I'm getting bigger.
What's going on? Supersonic travel is making a comeback. Remember, we had the Concord, right? And they got rid of that thing. Well, apparently,
I thought that was the dumbest idea, to get rid of the fastest plane.
yeah.
I mean, like,
And they didn't even wreck. I know there was one, right? I mean,
Yeah.
maybe there was more than one
maybe
accident,
a couple.
but over like 30, 40 years.
And they were flying this thing, and they were like charging thousands of dollars per seat to ride on it, because it got you there in such faster time. Like, you could get from, what was it, New York to Paris in like 2 hours or something?
45 minutes.
What? Wow.
No, I don't know. I really don't know, but it was incredible, because I went to Paris once, and I did fly from LA, but it took us almost 11 hours. I think it was 11 and a half hours to get there.
I'm on board for the Concorde coming back.
If
Like
you,
that and trips to the moon. Can we still?
Oh yeah, they're doing that.
Okay.
I mean, that's private now. United Airlines is bringing back supersonic travel. The company has made a deal to buy 15 jets, which will seat 75 people and travel at 1.7 times the speed of sound. I have no. I'm not a scientist. I didn't pay that close attention in school. I don't really know what 1.7 times the speed of sound is. And I don't think most people do, but I'm sure you could Google it. Here we go. Hey, Siri, what is 1.7 times the speed of sound in miles per hour? Let's see if she knows. You can't just tell me?
2003 is when they retired the Concorde.
2003, yeah. Let's see here. One sound equals...
Oh, gosh.
767 miles an hour. So, okay, so this is 1.7. Okay, so
This
here
is
we
math
go.
on the air.
This is going to be quick. I got to tell you. Okay, 1.7 times 767. Is that what I said?
Oh, gosh. Round trip.
1,304 miles an hour. There you go.
Adjusted for inflation.
Most airplanes, I think, travel around 350.
Adjusted for inflation. Okay. Today, a ticket on the Concorde, round trip ticket from London to New York, would equate to $12,900 for a round trip ticket for one seat on the Concorde. $12,900.
That's a pretty good deal.
That's a good deal. How quick does it get
We
you
did
there?
round trip on Air France or whatever.
$12,900, Jeremy.
Oh, not 1,200.
No,
oh, 12,000. I'm sorry.
$12,900.
I thought you said 1,200.
No.
I guess my mind was at that. I'm like, my wife played, and we had like pretty good discounts from a travel agent. Paid $1,600 round trip on Air France,
$12,900.
and that wasn't just
It's a lot
basic
more.
either. That was we had exit row seats.
But it had structural issues, the high speed and all that stuff.
Oh yeah, I'm surprised it never just came apart going 1,000 miles an hour or whatever it did. So,
Well,
anyways,
it flew for 27 years.
they've figured it out though, and
it would do a transatlantic
United's going to buy 15 of these things.
Just
It's called an
under-
Overture jet.
just under 3.5 hours from New York to Paris. Normally, it would take you 8 hours to go from New York to Paris. It would cut the time in half.
That's awesome.
And United's got something that's going to cut the time in half.
Yeah, what's the perfect amount of time on an airplane? For me, no more than 3 hours.
3 hours is
3 or less.
doable.
And if you could do 2, it's perfect.
Yes. 2 is perfect. 2 is perfect, and it's even better when you get that welcome surprise of an hour and 40 minutes.
And I got to tell you, this new high-speed jet, it looks a lot like the Concorde. Does that give you pause? I mean, it looks modern version of the Concorde. It doesn't have that. I never understood that nose that dipped down. If this thing was supposed to be so aerodynamic, why would it have a nose that dipped down? But apparently, that's a part of it.
Well, it was built in the 60s. The Concorde was.
The new one does not have that dip, but it has a very pointy nose. It's very thin, like a pencil. And there you go. Pretty cool.
Bring back Pan Am now. Party in the sky.
Is that what they were about?
No, I mean, it was the days, man. You go up in the sky, you smoke a cigarette, you have some drinks, you meet some stewardesses. That's not the case anymore.
It looks like this probably is not going to happen until 2029. So we got a few years. But
I could be dead by then.
I
Thank you. Like, why
could be dead tomorrow.
Why did I live in the gap? Yes, we got the internet, but why did I live in the technology gap that made it so moon travel was not possible and high-speed air travel was not possible?